Hello, hello, hello. How's everybody doing? It's great to see the diversity in the room. Give yourselves a round of applause. So, I don't say it often, I'm trying to make this cheesy, but I like crowd participation. When I say, I look like an engineer, you say,
now what?
There we go. All right. So I look like an engineer. There we go. Good people, good people. So, all right. So I'm Wayne Sutton, as you said, serial entrepreneur. You know, I founded one of the very first minority incubators and accelerators in Silicon Valley back in 2011. I'm really passionate about community and diversity. Entrepreneurs change the world. My company is a nonprofit called Build Up. We care about entrepreneurship. We have a fellows program going now. Well, launching in September. Apply online. Enough about that, right? So, what the fuck? How? And as a man, I can say this, what the fuck, right? How did we get here? Really? This one, who remembers this? Hipster. Who said that? All right, you get a candy, all right? Cool. Hipster, use hipster. This was back in 2011. This was their ad campaign for recruiting engineers from Google and Twitter. And of course they did, and of course they got acquired, right? That's how it works here, 2011. This was the idea for engineers. Then 2014, 15, we have DICE, right? All right, looking for a Ruby on Rails engineer. He's so whatever, right? I'm not gonna go there, right? But like, that's why we're here. That's why, because of this right here happens, we have to do a hashtag campaign, I look like an engineer. There we go, a little slow, but we there, And so, but what else? How did we get there, right? We focus so much on tech, but we really think about it. This is a deep, serious problem. This is a problem about the history of America, history of workforce. You know, moms trying to get, like, we're one of two only countries, somebody Wikipedia just to fact check me later, that does not have, like, great maternity leave for women. And this is America. But it's also the history of Silicon Valley. Like, a friend of mine told me, she said, well, you gotta realize, when Silicon Valley was being created in the 1960s, 70s, so forth, what was happening in the rest of part of America, especially for African Americans? We was fighting for civil rights. That's how far we're behind. And we still playing catch up. Therefore, we have to have a hashtag. All right, then we've been glorifying this bro tech culture, right? We've been glorifying. You know, it started with, well, it didn't start, but it kind of started a little bit with the movie Social Network. It's like, you know, everybody hackathon and code at night. We've just been glorified. And then zero accountability. Zero, we be honest. So a lot of stuff has been happening that we don't read about in tech blogs. That for every case that we do see about in terms of a trial of sexism, racism, trust me, there are millions, when I say millions, thousands or more out there. All right, so let's move on. I look like an engineer. Now what? So now we finally have this diversity conversation in tech. Finally have this diversity conversation in tech. Yes, I'm happy. As a black man in tech who grew up with an Atari Commodore 64 back in the day, those people who are like past 30, do you know what I'm talking about, right? No, Windows 3.1, you know what I mean? Like, now, you know, Mac OS 9 before 10. We know, right? So we finally having this conversation about diversity in tech, right? We have a hashtag that was 75,000 tweets. That's great. That's awesome. ISIS, give another round of applause. Good. But what are we gonna do? We have a community gathering. We here, we tweeting, we hashtagging, you know, we building community awareness, we blogging, we using Medium now, you know, Medium didn't exist 5 years ago, you know, but what is needed? You know, we need education is needed still, right? That is still a problem, especially in America, education system, right? We need CS throughout the entire school system. Access is needed. You know, we know how Silicon Valley works. Do not do an introduction to a VC without a double opt-in, right? That's the rules of the game. If you don't know, that is the rules of the game. So access by ecosystem, by introduction, by referrals, that's how it works. So if you're not in the system, you don't get access. We're talking about, you know, inclusion. We're talking about diversity. We're talking about entrepreneurship. We're talking about innovation. We're talking about investment. We need leadership. I is a leader. You all are leaders. You're standing for something. We need more leadership around this conversation. Accountability is needed. But what if I told you in my Morpheus voice all this will be over tomorrow. All this will be over tomorrow. I mean, how many memes have we seen? How many hashtags have we seen around diversity and tech, around women? What was that post that was on Medium not too long ago about a list of women angel investors? It was on Recode, it was on TechCrunch, on USA Today. Here today, gone tomorrow, right? Is this going to be another hashtag that is over next week? Is it, we're not going to talk about it. I look like an engineer, got my photo, changed my avatar. Facebook's going to track it. All right, sorry, Facebook, but hey, you had some news come out today too, so, but it could all be over tomorrow. So who, right? Who do we need to change? Who do we need to change? All right, I came out here in 2012, originally from North Carolina, hence the accent, if you can tell. The South, not the dirty South, but the South. And it took me a while to get used to this ecosystem. I really had to study who runs this space, right? What goes on here, right? It's the investors, angels, VC, right? They invest into look at the overall market and the economy, right? So trends, when Oculus Rift got acquired by Facebook, investors we need to invest in VR, right? When Twitter was getting invested, it's launched and so forth. We need to invest in social. So whoever builds those companies, the engineers, we're just talking about engineers here, are the ones who kind of also run this ecosystem. So who do we need to change? We need to change the investors' mindsets. We need to create more founders that are diverse. There's founders like the people in this room. We need to change the internal culture at existing startups. It's hard. Honestly, real talk, I don't have a lot of faith in the big companies. I want to have faith in the big companies. Look, they're sponsoring the conference I'm doing. Do well. But I don't have a lot of faith. 10,000 employees, 2,000 employees, how much changing culture? Hiring diversity manager now. Let's work on it. It needs to change, but it's going to be tough. But we need to change the internal culture of these companies. And we need to have zero tolerance for racism and sexism. Now, if I don't get a snap, clap, something, but literally, zero tolerance. And then we need everybody to really understand about the ecosystem, how it is changing in terms of the millennial generation, how diverse that is. California has more Latinos than any other population, any other ethnicity group in the state. The millennial generation that we're talking about, the millennials, they are diverse millennials, Latinos, Cubans, African Americans, they're diverse, right? So we've been on products for the future generation. Millennials, the Snapchat is going after, Instagram going after, the Vine's going after. They're not Stanford students. They're not just general white male students. They're diverse. We need to do this not only for it's the right thing to do, because it's the future of our economy. So we know who we need to change, but how do we change it? It's not easy. At the same time, it's not rocket science. Number one, we just need to hold people accountable. That's it, period. Zero tolerance, hold people accountable. Number two, a lot of people ask me, I do some diversity, inclusion advising and so forth. People ask me, say, well, where do we start? How do we get people involved? What do we do? Self-awareness. If you don't realize that there's a problem with biases in terms of the workforce, in terms of bias in terms of investment opportunity, bias in terms of friends and networks, if you don't understand there's a problem right there, that's not my job to convince you, and because you don't get it. If you don't have self-awareness, good luck. So, it starts with self-awareness. We do need to build communities. We need to do what we're doing here. This is a community. We need to build on this community. We need to thrive in this community. We need founders who let this room to create their own culture. And we need to tell stories. That Medium article was a story. There's tons of stories in this room that we have not heard, right? And I'm gonna give a little shout out. Megan, Megan works for TechCrunch. She was the one who wrote about it. She the first, so think about this. Put this in perspective. We have ICE's Medium article. TechCrunch knew they're not paying me. I'm trying to get press myself, but I'm being honest. I don't have time. I'm a little old for this. I don't have time for it. Be honest. So they newly just hired her diversity, to write about TechCrunch. I know Carmel here from Recode too, but she writes about it, and then now it's viral. Put it in perspective. This is not new startup. This is not investment dollars. And now we are here. This is impact. But this is impact around seeing the voices of diverse people tell their stories. We gotta keep that in mind. And also the battle is not just ISIS, everyone in this room. So what I'm doing, I'm not gonna talk about it if I'm doing something about it. I'm organizing a conference, shameless plug, also old date, but September. It's at Galvanize, because people from Galvanize here. Co-founder of Build Up, nonprofit education. I advise Galvanize Diversity and Inclusion, change catalyst, focus on women. I have a Slack group called Black Men in Tech. We got 175 black men who are all mostly developers or engineers or BD or work for a startup, which is more than half of Silicon Valley black men. Just be honest. I advise Engine, which is an advocacy group that focuses on policy. Women Who Code is a great organization. I'm an advisor of them. I'm on the selection committee for ASTA that focuses on investment in women. And I'm good colleagues and friends with Latino Startup Alliance. I care. Of course I do. I'm black. I live this. But I care most importantly. So, I look like an engineer. No. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? For real. Right? This is not a game. This is fun that we can come here together. We can talk about I look like an engineer. We can take photos, update our bio. But this is the biggest thing I did to talk about at South by Southwest about diversity, about black males and black in tech. You know what this is about? This is really about economic empowerment. Technology is the single biggest industry in the world that you can go to a code school or get with a group of friends, launch a company, create wealth, 4-6 months, go get a job, create wealth, change lives. There's 500,000 jobs. The White House has a tech hire initiative, trying to get more people for the unfulfilled tech jobs. You look like an engineer, great. Create wealth for yourself, educate, mentor someone else. The choice is yours. Thank you.